Hello, good people. This is B. Alexander, and I'm back again for this week's episode of the B Word. That's right, this is the B Word. Let me go ahead and get y'all started with what word is the word of the week. See, people will always take more than they are willing to pay for. Hold up. Let me say that again. See, people will always take more than they are willing to pay for. That's why this week's word is boundaries. That's right. This week's word is boundaries. Now, before we jump in, y'all know how we do. Let's go. Woo, yes, and welcome back. That's right. This is B. Alexander with the B Word, and the word of the week is boundaries. See, it's 2024, and a lot of people are talking about boundaries and cutting people off. But in truth, I want to know, how are you practicing and setting healthy boundaries? Okay, let me say that again. How are you practicing and setting healthy boundaries? See, although I do believe that some people may deserve to be unbound from you. See what I did there? See, unbound. Yes, although I do believe that some people may deserve to be unbound or untethered from your journey, it doesn't mean that you have to be a toxic addition to their journey either. We need to set healthy boundaries and create a space for honest communication so that we don't continue to create a cycle of toxic relationships and behaviors and are unable to deal in a situation of our own creation. See, this may sound like a bunch of babble. Another one of those B words. But let me explain what I mean. I befriended a person, if you will, during a difficult time in my life. This person isn't unkind, but over time I came to realize that this person doesn't recognize their sense of entitlement and the way in which they use people to get what they want and where they want to go. I watched as this person was able to utilize resources that, in all honesty, I didn't even know was there. And then ones I didn't think that they should be able to use. Well, our relationship came to a point when I was attempting to help them in a way that could fit in my schedule. When you out here hustling, you are working for every dollar that you grab. And when something throws off your hustle, I don't know about y'all, but for me, that is a level of irritation of itself, Because of the situation, I was now behind schedule and unable to deal with them and their needs due to time constraints of the facility in which we needed to get to. They stayed with me during my hustle. And for this, I offered, like a snack, nothing more or less than what I would do if I were even just a little hungry in the middle of the day myself. Now, I'm not rolling in the bills, at least just not yet. So I have to use my Eat Better Today card to make something happen. See, where I grab maybe $5 worth of items myself, they grab $10, $15. I realized in that moment that this was my fault, right? Because I hadn't specifically given any instructions in this situation. We check out, and at the last minute, I asked this person to grab me some Skittles Bright Sides, one of my favorite bags, and this person grabbed themselves a bag as well. So whatever. We get in the car, this person pulls out a Kind bar. Now, in my mind, I'm like, WTF? Like, where did that come from? Did this person just steal from the store? I didn't ask any questions. So they consume the bar, and then pull out the bag of Skittles, offering me some. I decline. We finally get to the original destination, grab what was needed, and I drop them off. They grabbed their things, and I was like, yo, don't forget your half-eaten bag of Skittles. And they were like, oh, I was leaving that for you. I was like, nah, I'm good, because I got my own bag. So they grab the bag and they leave. Now, a few hours later, I'm still into hustling, trying to get my work on, And I go and I grab the bag, the actual whole grocery bag, and I'm looking all inside. And I'm like, mother knucker, you. There weren't any Skittles in the bag, if you can tell from the level of frustration that I even still feel. I came to realize this person opened and ate my Skittles, offering them to me as a gesture, and never said anything about it except I was leaving the rest for you. Let me tell y'all. Okay. These are Skittles bright sides. I know that may not mean anything to y'all, but this is my favorite bag. And I was hot, okay? I was hot. I had to realize that this was my fault, though. I didn't set the boundaries in the situation to start. They don't know me well enough to know that, well, number one, Skittles are like my favorite. And I believe it was Chris Tucker who said, "You don't touch a black person's Skittles." Okay, that might not be exactly what he said, but y'all get the point. Now, in my haste, I did, as most people on the internet would say right about now, I cut that B off, right? Access denied. Boundary now set. There were teachable moments even in that story. I cannot always trust that in a situation, I can talk things through so that the person on the receiving end doesn't feel attacked. So I opted not to say anything. One can assume that they understood that they were cut off, but we shouldn't leave space for assumptions or presumptions. At the end of the day, if the situation were to play out similarly, they are likely to still have the same behavior and attitudes, and that doesn't work for me. Since this is a safe space, I will give you another quick anecdote. A few years ago, I had a friend that I lost touch with due to a misunderstanding. They were studying for a test that in the past they weren't able to achieve their desired outcome. I was in school again for let's be real, I don't remember. I'm one of those like lifelong learners, so it could be anything. But back to the story. We set up a time to meet and study together. Unfortunately, an emergency situation came up as I was on the way to their house. My goal was to handle the situation and still make it to study and chill. I informed them of the situation and that I would be late, and at first they were cool with it. The situation obviously took longer than anticipated, but I was still ready to get my study on, got to hit them books. They became upset by the situation and they cut me off. I couldn't believe it at the time. But you know what? Eventually, as of explaining this all to you, I was able to get a little bit of a better understanding of the situation and what was created. This friend of mine needed to create a boundary for themselves as they were going through a very stressful time in their life. To them, I could have been a distraction or a detractor from their goal. And if that was what they needed, that is fine. But what isn't okay is not having the capacity to actually have the conversation. Maybe one day when things settle down for them, they will be able to talk. You never know. Maybe they will be a guest on the B Word. But until then, there is a boundary in place for the two of us. Another place where boundaries need to exist is at work. Y'all hearing me? Y'all need to set some boundaries at work. See, many of us operate the same way at work as we do in our personal lives. We are given a task to complete. Maybe it is the same task or a type of task, so the work becomes mundane. Your supervisor or maybe someone hired tasks you with something that is, let's call it, above your pay grade, outside the scope of work that you are being paid for. We say, okay, or I'm on it. Now, we look at this as an opportunity to showcase some of our other skills and assets in hopes that the company will see our value, give us a promotion or a raise so that our lives can become a little easier. In truth, the job set the boundaries in the first place when they only wanted to acknowledge a certain skill set and only asked for you to perform a set of tasks under the position that you currently have. If you want to know what that list looks like, how about we go back to the original job posting and ask yourself if these are the true duties of the position. Many people will find that they are working outside of their position, filling in for positions that are above or below their pay grade, all in the name of teamwork or being a team player. Where is the team when it comes to you getting sick or injured? How long are you still a member of the team when life takes an unexpected turn? If a business is only concerned about its bottom line and not the value of its product, then that business has set boundaries, and we should all listen to those boundaries and adhere to them. Don't break your back for a company who won't bend over or reach down to give you a helping hand, and that skimpy paycheck ain't cutting it. Don't get me wrong. I love teams. I have been an athlete my whole life, been on teams and whatever. That's not the point. The point is that we oftentimes put ourselves in positions where we increase our own stress and therefore are negatively impacting our own health and well-being for a company who won't be there for us when we are in need. If you are hourly and getting paid not on production, but on time work, then the boundary is time. If you are a salary, you get paid on product produced. The boundary is not the same. This means if it takes you 1 hour or 32 hours, you are paid the same for the job. I'm sorry to hear this, but I do hope that you are fairly compensated for the intellectual property that you produce. You know what? I'm sorry. Let's not go there right now because I got a lot to say on that. But what I do want to say is that you need to create healthy boundaries for yourself. You need to create them in your workplace. You need to create them in your home. You need to create them with your friends or even associates that obviously you associate with. See, because boundaries help create a safe space for you. When you have boundaries and clear communication, it is fair to yourself and others when you exercise your right to cut folks off. Step back for a moment and reevaluate. I believe it was Mac the Tailor who posted on Instagram, if you found yourself cut off, you gave me the scissors. You take from that what you will. Now, see, our health is not just physical. I do want to mention our health is not just physical. Our mental, physical, and emotional health impacts the length and quality of our lives. So let's be healthy, y'all. Let's get healthy. Set boundaries for yourself. Communicate your expectations and be willing to do what you need to for yourself. As always, I welcome you to leave comments, share stories, or ask questions about this week's B word. I answer questions via my IG or TikTok, wherever you want to find me. You can find me at IM_B Alexander on most platforms. Again, that's IM_B Alexander on most platforms. Thank you again for joining me today for this week's episode of The B Word. I'm B Alexander. Until next time, please be your best advocate, be kind to yourself, and enjoy the journey to becoming your best self.